Hello everyone, I'm so happy to be here with YTexas today. My name is Donna Bragg. I am CEO and publisher of Texas CEO Magazine, Texas's premier media outlet for business leaders. Our flagship Texas CEO Magazine is mailed quarterly, I'll show it to you, to more than 10,000 CEOs and executives across the Lone Star State, and we are very thankful to partner with YTexas in featuring many of the new businesses that are flocking to our great state in record numbers. And naturally, all of that flocking brings with it a big need for housing. And we could go on and on about the staggering statistics surrounding the unprecedented prices and the demand for residential real estate in Texas. It's so huge, but you've heard it all. We have a short amount of time today, so we want to hear our real insider stories from two people who have their fingers on the pulse of this crazy housing market. And with me here today, luxury property advisor Marielle Lamy Quaid. She is founder of the Quaid Group with Keller Williams Luxury International, and also Russ Anderson. He's president of Briggs, Freeman, Sotheby's International Realty. We thank you both so much for being here this afternoon.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
So nice to have you. Marielle, let's start with you. We have to compete with an Australian accent, margaritas and beer.
Yep.
So
We'll do our best.
I know you told me once that the biggest change for you recently in Austin real estate is that you used to deal with millionaires and now you deal with billionaires. Share some stories.
Yeah, no, what I would say is in the last 18, 24 months, we've seen people sort of move in with this, it's a cultural movement, and it's these billionaires that are moving in for the idea of liberty and the pursuit of that. So, you know, people are getting off their jets and running into their friends and then competing for the same $20 million homes all across Austin, to where it's kind of unprecedented in our market.
Care to share any personal stories? Any names?
Names I have to be careful about, but you know, just for instance, so much of what we do is off market, and discretion is a big thing for us. But a Central Austin estate that was listed for $30 million, it is very quietly marketed, and then it ends up, you know, it has multiple offers and it soars into the mid 40s. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking at in Austin.
Yeah. So Russ, you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and want to know if it's the same for you there.
You know, it certainly is. You know, clearly everybody understands about the inventory challenges. You know, the statistics. You know, we could sell significantly more than we have available, and now it's about having an agent with a network that can figure out what properties could be sold and not be announced. I actually, in preparation for this, went out and looked at our top 10 transactions and discovered that out of our top 10 transactions, all 10 of them were off market. Mm-hmm. And can't be disclosed. Yeah. And so I think that's the interesting part of that, is how much of that market is really kind of an unknown market.
Right. And so have you guys become hunters now?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. You mentioned that there's a huge demand across international, across the world, for ranches in Texas. Is that what you're seeing?
It is, and we've got a very large ranch and land group, and they had their best year ever. Mm-hmm. People have now viewed, ranches where you can roam as a terrific place to park assets and a great way to find, a respite from COVID and from cities and from traffic. And we can't find enough ranches to satisfy the demand that has approached us.
So if any of you has a ranch out there, the problem though is if you sell something, where do you find something, right?
Right.
It's how do you meet the demands that you're faced with?
I think the compression that happens with that is interesting, because we have so many people coming in, and it's not just in sort of the middle of the market that we're seeing compression. It's the high end compressing the middle and then working its way down. Mm-hmm. So people moving around, that's the other key part, and it also, that's what makes our job fun, is the competitive nature of doing the right thing for your client, but it's very real.
I'm curious about what kind of amenities people are looking for. When you come to that type of luxury real estate, what are they looking for that would be interesting?
More is better. Listening to the previous group, more is better. So, more elaborate out back pool, backyard amenities, more elaborate kitchen amenities, more elaborate bathroom amenities. So all of the places that you can really zhuzh up a house, it's really almost expected now.
Yes. High tech?
I don't know. For us, it's not so much high tech, but it's more quality of materials being on a world-class level where we haven't seen that kind of demand in Austin so much. We have world-class properties, but, the fact that there are spec homes now that are reaching into the 15, 20 million category, and it's for having, an architectural digest level tile and those sort of things. I feel like those matter more than just the technology in the home.
Yeah, when you look at some of the listings, it has to list that the countertops came from some specific quarry, and the wood comes from some unique place in the world. So, everybody wants statement pieces.
Yes.
So I read last week that new home construction in the Houston area particularly was 41% more expensive than it was last year. And yet still, new homes you can't build them fast enough. Is that the same in Austin? Is that the same in Dallas?
It's definitely the same in Austin. I would say, speaking specifically to luxury, we're seeing homes that sold 3 months ago now selling for 50% more. Yeah. Even if you look at 12 months, it might be as much as there are homes that have sold for 100% more. Wow. In this it started off at 5 and then a year later it's at 12 million. Mm-hmm. So, we're seeing that, and the way that works itself down, is very, it's a constant.
Mm-hmm. You started here in the conversation, it was supply chain issues. Mm-hmm. Supply cost kept going up. And then, some of the supply cost receded, but the prices continued to go up. Mm-hmm. I always heard the adage was, you could build a great house between $350 and $400 a foot. You can't touch a good house for probably less than $600 a foot, and we know of some high-end constructions that's $1,000 a foot, mm-hmm. just for the construction, not including the land.
So you guys must love being in Texas right now. Good for business.
It's great for business. I mean, I'm a local Austinite, so seeing the change happen so rapidly, it's, there's an adjustment, but, it's great getting to share the ideals of Texas with all of these people that are coming here really out of a cultural movement. So it's exciting to be a part of it.
I imagine. Yeah.
But the neat thing about Texas is it still has a component of relationship that's important. You all mentioned that in the previous group. Yeah. I came here from LA. And LA,
like many others.
Yeah. It doesn't trade on much of relationship, but when you come to Texas, relationship still matters, yes. and people are still kind to each other. And I think that's what makes it such a compelling place to be and to come to, because you can now, find some of those things that were more Americana-ish than a lot of the cities that they see around the country, New York, LA, Miami.
Russ, you mentioned something interesting to me earlier about a statistic regarding Dallas and its growth. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast that a friend of mine told me about Freakonomics, and in this particular podcast, they were saying that by 2030, they were expecting or forecasting that the DFW Metroplex would be the third largest Metroplex in the country, behind New York and LA.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating?
It's a little scary, actually.
If you live in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine, infrastructure and new construction, all of that being able to, to absorb that much growth and still provide the same quality of living that makes it so valuable to all of us today.
Mm-hmm. And what about interest rates? Do you guys predict anything changing rapidly if interest rates rise?
Historically, when interest rates rise, it creates an even bigger frenzy to enter the market. So, if they do, which it sounds like they will, I think in the luxury market, it doesn't matter so much because it's all cash deals, or mostly cash deals. But I think that we'll just see prices continue to rise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we do expect interest rates to go up.
Yeah.
And I agree with her. It does tend to encourage people to act.
Right.
And then, if we get to 2023 and we've had several interest rate moves, it will be interesting. I don't think they're enough that it's really going to alter what takes place.
Mm-hmm. So earlier, the Howard Hughes Corporation mentioned master planned communities. Do you see that as sort of a wave of the future?
I think there are going to be some fascinating things happening in these big cities, and I think that with key players like Elon Musk moving to Austin, I think that we're going to see a new sort of technologically driven community enter the space, and it'll be exciting to see how that plays out. I mean, as they take their multi-generational developments.
Perfect. Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank
for being
you.
Here
It's fun.
today.
Thank you,
It's a
Donna.
very fascinating conversation.